All right, 99.9 Punk World Radio FM. You guys already know what time it is. Right here, right now, we actually have a Canadian punk rock legend. That's right. We actually have Gary Begner right here live on the radio station airwaves and, of course, YouTube and Facebook as well. How are you doing this evening, Gary?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Best I can possibly be. Just enjoying this Ontario weather, man. I don't know if you heard, but we're getting like plus 26. So it's we're getting a little taste of summer.
Yeah, it's been awesome. It's been awesome. I'm just in London, Ontario, so we've had the same kind of like really awesome days. Then tonight started raining, so I think it's supposed to start dropping down to 7 tomorrow, which is going to blow, but whatever.
Yeah, I heard about that with the whole 7 degrees. I'm hoping, maybe the weatherman's wrong and they add another 1 onto that 7. Hopefully.
Yeah, I'd like that as well. Yeah. I'm tired. I'm tired of the winter part. So.
But Gary, I know you're a busy guy, man, so I'm going to dive right into this interview, but I got to take you back to the beginning of your amazing career. And in the early 1990s, you were actually a part of a band by the name of Trigger Happy. For the listeners that actually might not know the aspect of this aspect of your career, I was wondering if you can tell us a bit more about Trigger Happy. And of course, how did you actually get connected with the other members? And of course, come to join this band?
Well, straight up, I played in my own band, like my own bands over time. So to take it over, I originally started in Ontario in a metal band called Leftovers, and we did that for a while. That's where I first met Al from Trigger Happy back in those days. Then after that, I had my own band called Lame. We did a bunch of stuff, put out records and toured and all that fun stuff. And in that time, the Trigger Happy had changed a bunch, like from their lineup. But anyway, long story short, their bass player was a guy by the name of Gentleman Jim Norton, who became the tour manager for, I think it was Monster Magnet at the time. And they needed somebody to just fill in on bass for a little bit. And at that moment, I got asked to do it by Simon Head, who was their original bass player who had switched to drums. So anyways, I was good friends with Simon, still am. And Simon basically asked me to come out and fill in for a bit. So I went and did that. I was with them for about three to 4 months, possibly. And in that time, Jim had gotten the gig as Monster Magnet's full-time road manager. And so I joined the band. We wrote and recorded the album Uncooler. And then I kind of had like my allegiance to my own band because Lame was doing stuff. We had won the Hits FM new band search. So we were the band that won it after Finger 11. So I kind of just wanted to do my thing because I like writing my own songs and singing. So I basically departed the band at that point and just carried on with Lame.
And also as well, in 1993, you actually did bass and vocals actually on Trigger Happy's release on Cooler. I was wondering if you can actually tell us a bit more about this album. And of course, has it actually since been released to the internet to be streamed or purchased today in 2023? Because I do know some of those older released albums, sometimes they haven't been released to the streaming services.
Yeah, hold on. I didn't know you were going to ask me about this, but in a weird situation, we just had some stuff pop up. So just in a weird, goofy thing. There was the other band, the metal band, Leftovers. That's on Discogs. That's crazy how much people spend on this thing. Anyways, and then this is the Uncooler album. Sorry, I got the glare going on, but
I saw the Uncooler album as well. I actually saw that right now there's someone selling a copy, I think, for like $750, if I could be mistaken.
Well, I've got 2 of them, so who knows? No, that's just my own personal thing there. So anyways, when Jim had basically asked me to take over for him when he decided to stay on, we just they had already written a bunch of songs that they were working on. I just at that point filled in, and then we used to rehearse at in my band's rehearsal space, which was like next door to my apartment in Oshawa. And at that point, I started writing with the band. So we did a bunch of stuff. So I co-wrote a bunch of the songs. I only got credit on the one thing, but the vocal part for that one song. But yeah, no, I co-wrote a bunch of it. It was fine. It was just a good thing. I like working with Mark. And at the time we had, as you can see, Wally running nude on the cover. Wally had joined the band and moved in with my next door neighbor. So we just all kind of just hung out all the time and it just came to be. And then we went and recorded I think we were at phase 1 with Eric Ratz. We kind of went in and just smashed it out really fast after rehearsing, and then we went on the road for a week out into Montreal area, into Quebec, and then came back, and and then that was when I departed.
And going back to the cover for a moment, when obviously, like you said, he's running naked on the cover. Was he all for being on the cover naked, or like how did that actually happen?
To be honest with you, I wasn't part of the band at that point, but Wally and nudity wasn't a big deal. Like, Wally was basically just pure skate punk through and through. You could get him; he would do anything. If he thought it was funny, or would get a chuckle, or just would terrify himself. He was in. He was in. So yeah, that's one of those things that it just doesn't. When I saw the cover, I just kind of laughed. I knew what was going on. So it's just to know Wally. He's pretty goofy that way. So in a good way.
And one of the last trigger happy questions I do have, I actually read that in 2004 you guys actually came back together for a reunion. I was wondering if you can actually tell us a bit more about that reunion. Of course, what ultimately made you guys decide to depart again after you guys reunited?
Well, that was the thing. I wasn't even part of that reunion, that gig when they got to. I think Kevin, who plays an Audio Visceral, came back and took over bass for that. As for everything else, I'm not really privy to any of the information. It was just what they wanted to do, I guess. Like, I know that before Mark had passed, he had a band with his wife. They had their own thing going for a long time. I know Al had his things going on, so I can't remember the bands. I think it was Down Belows and something else. There was I know he played in a band called Hell Yeah Fuck Yeah with Adam Arse. So they just had a bunch of stuff going on. So it's probably just one of those things where if there's enough demand for it, makes you well, maybe we should, maybe we shouldn't. I still get questions about Lame and leftovers every once in a while asking us to get back together again, but I just kind of want to keep going forward kind of thing. So I don't really go back. If you didn't see us the first time, don't expect me to come back and you schlub it through just to be like, hey, these are my songs from 20 years ago or whatever. So I just like going forward. But as for them, I had no part of it. But all the best to them.
And also as well, I actually read via Discogs that you actually did production work on Final Stage's album titled Out of Hiding. I was wondering if you can actually tell us a bit more about working on this project. And of course, what was it like just working behind the scenes on this particular project?
Well, to be honest with you, this is like a crazy part because you've gone back so far. I used to have, three things. I used to be a raging alcoholic, like the hardcore guy. I don't drink anymore, but I used to be terrible. So there's a lot of stuff I did, like a lot of production. You'll find my name on a lot of production, like Voodoo Chicken. Oh man, what are the bands? There's so many bands I actually can't even remember. So even for Final Stages, I couldn't recall. Unfortunately, it's just a part of my life where I basically destroyed my brain cells like an idiot and trying to be that. I don't know what it's just trying to be a punk rock dude, I guess, or a heavy metal dude. I don't know. I just drank too much, so I enjoyed it too much. So we go into the studio. Behind the scenes, it's always for production is always with me is very laid back. I like experimenting with sounds a lot, and with bands, I kind of like them to know what they're doing. So I don't get into it too much unless there's something somebody's playing a sharp and the other's playing a flat and it totally clashes and doesn't work. But for a lot of that stuff, I don't even recall it, and it sucks. It actually sucks. Even being asked about it right now, I'm just like, seriously, I couldn't fucking tell you. Brutal,
hey, but you know what? At the end of the day, I got to say, just listening to that production work just on that particular project, you did a phenomenal job, because a lot of people, they think bands just go into a studio and play music and that's all that happens. But honestly, it's people that behind the boards that really help polish it and actually make it sound the way it does. So when you listen to that, you can tell the production work on that album is absolutely flawless.
That's awesome. Cool. Thank you. It's funny. It's funny because a lot of the times with production and stuff, it really comes down to your engineers, and just over the years I've learned, and knowing your room and your gear. If you don't have a good engineer who knows really good mic placing and what mic works best for what tone, It's insane how you can be right off the mark. And I've been part of like projects where it's like, oh, we want to record here and we want to record there, and you go, and it's like, and it comes out and you're just like, wow, we just spent a lot of money on a turd. And it's just because, they brought in the wrong person, or, the guys aren't comfortable, they get excited. And that's what happens to a lot of young bands is they'll go into a big studio, and they just don't feel right. They're excited. And they get all like giddy and stuff, and it doesn't come out properly in the recording. I find a lot of bands, I like to kind of do, if I'm doing production, I haven't done something besides my own stuff, but I like to usually go into a studio once or twice, just to cut something that isn't going to be on an album, just to get a feel for the room and to kind of get everybody, to say the phrase zen, like just to get comfortable. Because if it doesn't work, like if you don't mesh with the sounds or the producer or the engineers, it's not going to help you in any way, shape, or form. You're going to get a bad recording, or it's just not going to be representative of what you do. So that's normally what I do. And in those cases, it's kind of fun to do it. I enjoy it. I like watching bands, build onto something. And then a lot of times my big thing that I like to add in is if I think the guitar should be heavier, I really kind of fanatical about big guitars and all that such. So, but that's all I can tell you. It's all just about a feel for the room and the people that you work with completely.
And also going into like today and your current projects.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're actually a member of the amazing band Hellaphant. I was wondering, how did you actually meet the other members and form this amazing band? Because when you actually put on this music, you can tell you guys have such phenomenal chemistry together. Like, this music just sounds right, especially for punk rock.
Well, this is kind of like my second incarnation of the band. I started the band originally with my friend Matt Lennon. He's from back the Oshawa GTA area. He was like, I think Ajax Pickering. And we became better friends out in London because he lives here now as well. And we were writing in his home studio, just writing kind of I don't know how you'd say it. It wasn't this. It was like more of an ethereal, big layered sound, almost like a metal kind of tone. Part shoegaze, part shoegazy, part ethereal metal, and a lot of time changes. We then he just said, we kind of liked working together, so we said, you want to start a band, and we did. So we got this rehearsal space, and we got a drummer, and we got a bass player, and everything was going okay. And then I went on vacation, and I came back, and the whole band had imploded. So when I got back, Matt was like, "Yeah, I'm out, and I can't deal with this." And then it was like shortly after that, everybody else left. So to bring it to now, we had a mutual friend who played with the band for a bit, Gus, and before he ever helped us out there, I had talked to him, and he said, "Oh, I know a guy that plays bass that would love to play bass. He plays in this surf punk band, and he'd love to get into something like yours." So that was Chris Ehrenberg. So Chris and I met. We tried out a drummer. We still laugh about this one tryout quite a lot because I've never played with a drummer who's played in work boots before. So we still laugh at that. And then so shortly after that, then we were looking for a drummer, and the same guy, Gus, basically had said, like, I've got this other guy that might want to play because you have similar taste in music, which is Scott. And so I messaged Scott one day, and we just started talking, and we found out that we had a love for, we both really like Sam I Am a lot. But we also liked other things like skateboarding and scooters and all that such. So we headed off, and then he and Chris already knew each other from their high school days of playing in bands around London. And then our guitar player at the time, Jordan, had left. Our friend, the guy who introduced us, was Gus. He stepped in and filled in for a while. And then, probably about, I don't know, it's been about a year now. Gus left because Gus has his own band. We met. I've known Jay for a little bit. Jay stepped in, and as soon as Jay stepped in, like his tryout, it was basically he had learned our EP, walked into the rehearsal, apologized for not knowing everything, and then basically we kicked in, and he played everything flawlessly, and did some stuff that just kind of made the guy's eyes just like jaws dropped, eyes opened, and he was such an outgoing, positive person that it just kind of brought everybody together. And that's what you get in the recording. And the other part of the recording is our producer, Simon. We work with Siegfried Meyer, which I love Siggy a lot. I think he's awesome. But we came across Simon Larachette in town. Siegfried is about 3 hours outside of London. So for us to record, it's really hard for us because we have to travel like and to get guys of our age who all have jobs and families, like some have families, some don't, to drive out for 3 hours to try and record and get everything done and then do back layers and all that. You're putting a lot of time in it. So Simon's in town, and we met him through mutual friends of ours. The Heart Attack Kids had always talked about what a great job he did. And his room is in an old house. And as I say, we had recorded there once for a Tony Hawk promo, but it wasn't official. It was out of the UK. So we went in and just really loved the vibe of the studio. And we had worked with a different producer, Kyle. And when it came to the album, I just talked to Simon, and he was all for it. And he really has an understanding of kind of like that heavy guitar sound. And he's like he and I are kind of on the same wavelength. Like we like to experiment with tone. So like when we're in the studio when we went in, you basically had Jay, who had just kind of joined the band, like not too long before, who we just said we're throwing him into the fire with us. And we just went in and we recorded all live off the floor. And because Simon knows his gear and knows his rooms, he was able to capture that. And it was such an easygoing experience that what you're hearing in the recording is just guys playing what they just fucking love. Like, we really stand behind this recording. We love the songs. I love the songs because I write them kind of to a point, and the guys help arrange everything. So it's like an all for one thing. So when we play them, everybody's just on the same page, and it's just a giver mentality. And Simon's was able to record and capture that. So that's basically what you get out of it. And then you have my production side of it, just saying like, can we do this? And can we do that? And can I have like 5 more guitar tracks, please? So, that's how I met everybody. And to this day, like we're still having a great time. We just played last night. And I think I smile more when in this band playing live and in the rehearsal space than I think I've ever done before. It's just a good time. It feels good. It feels positive. It's weird, to be honest with you. It's weird, but it's a village, right? Like we everybody that's involved in this band, everything from like John Aston, who did the cover art, who's done our t-shirts for the last little bit. Like everybody's involved. Like, we pump everybody. We had Chris Sherry, who does the artwork for the Descendants and all the California punk rock guys. He designed a shirt for us. And his art, that same artwork is on the label. So it's like, we give him credit and we send him records and anything we do. And it's just one of those, like, kind of, I don't want to be in a band that we're not giving credit where credit's due. Which I find just over the years, I've seen that happen. And so it's like, if somebody's helped us out, like they're part of the team kind of deal. So it's like, we've got Jordy with Faster and Louder Records, who kind of does so much for us, getting us out there. And then, and as much as I'm getting off topic, like it's a band of 4 guys, but really it's a band of like about 8 of us, 8 to 9 of us that are just all together, just having a good time. And we all just seem to be on the same page. And as you can see, even like if you've seen the album cover, like, that was just John and I joking around. I'd asked him to do the art. And he just said, well, what do you want? I'm like, I really have no clue. And he contacted me about a week later, and he said, like, if I don't get an idea soon, you're going to get like a drawing of a Care Bear. And I was just like, yeah, that's what I want. I'm like, go for it. I said, I want the Hellaphant as a Care Bear. I said, standing on a mountain of skulls. I said, do what you do. And we got it back, and it, like, the cover suits the music so much. And John hadn't even heard the album yet. That just came out of him, and we were just like, geez, this is like perfect. So it's like, there's everything. Like, we have the same guy that takes our photographs, Chris Forrest, who shoots our videos. Like, we just kind of stay loyal to everybody that we can. Like, if it's in our wheelhouse, and like I say, like, we can use it, and it makes us happy. That's what we're going with. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. I know it answered more than your question, but hey, that's what I do. Hooray for ADHD.
Hey, I gotta say, you know what? There's some interviews that I actually have done, you know what I mean? And I get like 2-word answers. And as an interviewer, I sit there and go, oh my goodness. So I don't mind a person that tells stories and talks, because at the end of the day, it's great for the interviewer and it's great for the viewers as well. So I can't complain.
Yeah, well, they get more information than they want, but you know, it is what it is. It's the band, right?
But going back a few moments ago when you actually said that a Hellaphant actually did an unofficial Tony Hawk promo, I was actually wondering, because obviously I do know Tony Hawk is very engageful within social media. Did Tony Hawk ever comment on your guys' unofficial promo or anything like that? Did you guys hear anything from the Birdman?
No, we didn't. So it was a what was it? It was a compilation, digital compilation out of the UK, and if anybody's listening that remembers it, like it was about a year and a bit ago. They were doing basically a compilation of bands doing songs, any song that had ever been released on a Tony Hawk Pro Skater video game. So you got this huge list of every song, and then obviously we came in late, but you go through like pages upon pages because there's so many songs on since they started doing Pro Skater till now. So we went through it all, and there were some amazing songs. Like there was the Replacements, there's like Misfits, there's all this stuff on there. But I kind of have this thing about cover songs. I like obscure ones. I don't want to play a song that everybody loves. I don't want to, like to do a Misfits cover or a Replacements cover. For me to do a Replacements cover would be my dream because that's my ultimate favorite band. But we ended up finding, Chris and I went through, we divided up the list and just basically listened to music. And we ended up coming on with a band called We Are Scientists. And they have a song called After Hours. And it's basically all about getting drunk. But it's like this, it's not a punk song. It's just like this. When you hear their version of it recorded, it's very poppy. So we took that as our perfect opportunity. So we just we growled it up a bunch and kind of put some clutches in it and such. And we handed it in. We paid the licensing on it so we could release it on our digital streams as well. But when we did, we never heard anything, not even from We Are Scientists. And we even sent them messages to say, hey, just so you know, we love the song. We did a cover of it, check it out. But I don't think people care that much about stuff anymore. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's not like in the old days where, people got excited. Like, we just had a cool experience tonight where we were on Cone's Cave. So Cone from Sum 41 has his radio station out of Toronto. And so he played Hellaphant tonight on the show. And that, to me, that was awesome. Like I was like pretty stoked for it because we as bands, we kind of like, oh yeah, well, we got streamed on something or we're on something, but to be on the radio, that's old school stuff, right? So to be played on an actual radio station, it was just kind of a cool kick for us, right? And then Cone as well, being who he is, it's just a neat thing. But I don't even know if anybody would have heard it, right? And that goes the same with the We Are Scientists thing. Like I can see how many people have streamed it on Spotify or whatnot, but so I don't even know if Tony Hawk ever heard it or even cared because it's not like he gets anything out of it,
That's true, yeah.
He's not like Gene Simmons or Paul Stanley that would sue us because we use the word axe to describe a guitar or something, right? It's like I don't think Tony Hawk's scouring the internet looking for things to give him ego boosts. No offense to Kiss, but whatever. I'm not a Kiss guy.
You're speaking the truth. You know what I mean? Yeah. Same with like Metallica, for instance. I do know they love going on suing binges. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All I got to say is Napster.
Yeah. But the worst part is the fact that he was right. That's the part, right? Like, Who knew? Like, everybody raged. I didn't care because I wasn't really, I wasn't streaming. Napster for me was more about getting a virus on my computer at the time because it was so it was like Pirate Bay. It's like, oh, I'm going to download this movie that I'm not supposed to get. And then you turn it on and it's like, yeah, this isn't the movie. Like how much bandwidth in 4 hours downloading it, but yeah, it's like, and I know I saw an interview about the Metallica suing Sandman, the tribute band.
Yeah.
Just their lawyers. It's like, Hetfield had said something like, I don't have time to be on the internet looking at, for stuff. It's like, that's what these guys, that's what the label takes care of that stuff. That's what they're after. And in the end, they cleared it all up, right? They just said, yeah, no, it's fine. Just do it. It's like, it's out of our control when this stuff happens. Napster's a different monster, but as I say, he was right. And the funny part is everybody was mad at them because they already had all the money. But what they didn't realize is that what came out of that is every band below them and going forward was getting screwed. Like if you're not signed to even if you're signed to a major label, it's like you're not getting anything out of it. It's like, what is it, 0.0003 per stream? Whereas
Yeah,
if you
I think about that, something like that. I do know nowadays, like there's different tiers. I think I read that Pandora supposedly gives the most streaming. I don't know if that's still true. I read it a couple of years ago.
Yep.
But either that, it still sends.
Yeah, it's still nothing. And you used to get, like, if you got played on the radio, like if you get played on satellite radio, you get paid. Like bands can make money on satellite, but they're trying to do away with satellite because, like why give artists money to keep doing their craft, right? It's like, so it's all it's all weighing out, right? Like we have the opportunity to do an interview from my home live with you. That's the same unit I can record an album on, in the basement of my house. So I'm not paying for studios and I'm not paying for that. But at the same time, the quality is there. Is like the quality shows if you're recording an album just in your basement or whatnot. We don't all have the Billie Eilish setup with a brother who's a brilliant engineer that can make things sound like $1 million in his bedroom. At the same time, he has like the greatest gear in the world. But anywho, I digress.
And also, on February 14th of 2023, I know we briefly spoke about this album a few moments ago, but you guys actually released the 11-track album titled Crumble and Rise. I was wondering if you can actually tell us a bit more about this amazing album. And of course, where can we actually purchase ourselves a copy of it today? Because I got to say, these 11 tracks are absolutely unskippable.
Oh, thank you. That's awesome. Thank you. Crumble and Rise is basically, it's a song that's, it has a lot to deal with mental health issues. So it's no longer boy meets girl, boy loses girl. It's basically, man wakes up and wonders what the fuck happened. Like, is this all there is kind of deal? With the roller coasters of life, like, depression. I'm that guy who has all the fun things. I have to battle depression. ADHD, anxieties. It's all that stuff. It's all there. So that's what the album's about. And it's called The Crumble and Rise. You break down, but you build yourself up. You don't phone it in. You don't give up. You keep coming up. And it goes the same with the band. Like, it's kind of the story of the band as well. Like we started out, it got destroyed. Then it got built up again. Things were going great. Then all of a sudden we had the rug pulled out from under us. And then all of a sudden, we had to build up again. And then Jordy came along and helped us out. And then we just kept building on it. And as for the album, you can get it from Faster and Louder Records on Bandcamp, which is Faster and Louder is the label that put it out. Excuse me. And basically that's where you can get the vinyl. You can get the digital download. You can stream it everywhere for Hellaphant, Crumble and Rise. There's an EP out called Crumble, which is the recording sessions we did with Siegfried and our old guitar player. And most of those songs are on Crumble and Rise, because it's Crumble and Rise was I'll make this quick. The Crumble EP, when it was released, it was because we were supposed to be released on another label. And so we were with the label for about a year, and then they let us go. And so right away we wanted to put something out just to kind of say, like, we're not dead in the water. So we put out the EP. And then things were going along all right. And then obviously the pandemic and all that fun stuff that went on. And then when our guitar player left and we were going to record the album, we decided that we would redo the whole thing with Jason to play guitar. Because I didn't want to have, like, I don't like it when I hear a recording where it's like done in segments. You can totally hear the different flow or energy. So that's that. But yeah, so we recorded the whole album, brought the songs from the Crumble EP forward. I think we chopped 2 off of it, and then recorded a whole bunch of the new songs that I'd written, and then put it out that way. And like I say, and then so then we had it pressed, and so you can get vinyl from Faster and Louder on Bandcamp. You can buy the digital through Faster and Louder. We were just informed last week that This Is Just a Record label out of Ohio is releasing the album on CD for us. So they're going to be distributing it through the US. But that's not for a little while. And you can get it on cassette as well through Faster and Louder. And yeah, and that's basically where it is. And Spotify and all the other silly places that you can.
And also, Gary, aside from the music industry, I also read that you were actually the owner and operator of a company called Shirt for Brains for the past 20 plus years. I was wondering if you can actually tell us a bit more about this company. And of course, how can our listeners not only check out your products, but also potentially inquire about your services if they are indeed interested?
Yeah. Shirt for Brains is basically my screen printing company. I do screen printing, so shirts, hoodies, embroidery, DTG, DTF, digital such as well. And it's basically based out of London, Ontario. I work out of my house, so we're in my office actually right now with all my toys and all that stuff around me. But yeah, so it's basically I don't really do like a clothing line per se. I basically print all of Hellaphant's merch, obviously. But yeah, it's if anybody wants merch or anything done, it's just shirtforbrains.ca online. And yeah, and that's what we do. There's nothing really like that's basically it. It's just a business that I run. When I was younger, I didn't like paying like $20 to get shirts made for the bands. And then, you go and sell them for 25 or 23 and you make $3 just to get your name out there. So I started screen printing at a young age and did all the lame merchandising. And that's how the band lived for a long time and paid for our recordings and such. So then when I moved up to London, I used to be a programmer at Bell. And when they outsourced all the work there, I just kind of had talked to my wife at the time she's still my wife. But anyways, I talked to my wife during that time and I just said, I'm going to get back into screen printing. So I went out and bought a guy's shop that was going out of business and brought it all home. And I've been doing it ever since. So it's a good life. I enjoy it. It makes it so I can work. But if I'm doing a job and all of a sudden I get a melody or something hits me, it's easy for me to walk from one room into the other room and plug in my guitar and work it all out and then drop it on the iPhone just to get the gist of it and then go back to work instead of like the days of working in an office going like, oh crap, like, I've got an idea. How do I take care of this? Sitting at my desk, kind of trying to hum into a phone at the time, just trying to get a recording. This just works out so much nicer. It's like you just stop everything, go do it, come back, get back to work. And then, some days it does derail me quite nicely, but not enough.
And I have to ask, Gary, what is next for yourself and, of course, Hellaphant? Like, is there anything we missed during this evening's interview? Anything else you do still want to talk about or promote? Well, we still got you here live on 99.9 at Punk World Radio FM this evening.
Yeah, no, we're already working on the next album. Just because the Crumble and Rise had been in the works for so long. And a lot of people don't get the fact that, you record an album after the album's recorded, it takes a while. It gets mixed, then it gets mastered, then it has to go to production, and then and it's all so by the time it's out, you're already like a year past of when you wrote everything. So anyways, we've already started writing the next album. That's basically it. We're getting ready to shoot a couple videos. We've got a bunch of shows coming up. We play May 5th in Toronto at the Doc Ellis with the world famous Tall Boys, Frank Dukes and Keeley. Sorry, that took a minute. We've got some tours planned. We'll be going out east in November. We're playing a bunch of shows with the follow-ups. There's something in the works for out west to do some shows. And then in the meantime, we're just trying to play around Southwestern Ontario. Not as much in London, like trying to keep away from home as much as we can, just because I don't want to burn it out. But we're trying to get into new markets. So we've got, we're going to be playing Barrie in the next little while. Trying to get back to Port Hope, Oshawa, Toronto, Windsor, all that such. Just trying to basically play as much as we can within our scheduling that we can. Because the other part of life is that one of the things in the band was that I wanted to make sure that everybody has a life. So if somebody wants to go on vacation, then please go on vacation. Like, I don't want I lived my life when I was younger that it was all or nothing for the band. And so I'd miss out on things like, hey man, do you want to go to Florida for spring break? No, I can't. We're playing a show. and then you go and you play for 12 people, and then everybody comes back from the vacation of spring break talking about what a great time it was, and you played one show for that entire time, and the rest of the time you just sat around being bummed out because you didn't go away. So yeah, with the band, it's like we try and organize everything. So yeah, right now it's like that's all we're trying to do. We're also trying to get over to Europe. For me, that's the big focus next, besides the next album. And Chris Forrest and ourselves will be shooting 2 videos for the album, probably in the next little bit. I'm just waiting. I think Chris is the cinematographer. I think he's in Vegas right now. But when he gets back, we're going to be working on getting the video shot and get those out into the world for all 3 people to watch. It's just the way the industry is nowadays. It's like there's so many bands out there, and we're all doing this, like we're all trying to get everybody's attention, and I'm still trying to crack that egg, right? Like, how do you get people to want to listen to your band? You can put out a good album or good music, but what is it? What's the trick nowadays?
I think honestly it's because the industry, like not even just punk rock itself, but like every genre of music, just the fact that you can do everything at your house, you have your distribution, your record labels literally in front of you. So I think that with just so much music coming out all the time, I think just like consumers, like listeners, are just confused on what really to absorb, because there's so much stuff coming out all the time. Totally. It's literally like a conveyor belt.
yeah. And on top of it, we're in Canada. Like I'm a Canadian kid. I love it. I just don't like the industry here. The whole we don't want to invest in your band to take a chance on you, but maybe when you guys get popular and start making all that money and do it all yourselves, well, then we're going to get involved with you and help you out. And that's the part that always makes me chuckle, because it's like, well, I don't need you now. It's like why so many Canadian bands just end up doing it on their own until, unless somebody gives them what they need, right? But it's a weird thing. In the States, it's different. They have a different way of doing things. They seem to have a bit more gambling instinct on them, you say. But yeah, it's just a weird thing. So anyways, yeah, you're right. It's like everybody can record. It's like how many times you're listening to something online and it's like you get interrupted with a commercial for somebody that you've never heard of with their new song. And everybody just does singles now too, right? Like nobody's putting out like full records. They just keep putting out a single every 3 months. And then when they release the album, you're already burnt out from the single. So you don't buy the album. You're like, yeah, I've already heard all this stuff. So yeah, I don't get it, but it's a different monster. That's all. So we'll figure something out soon, but who knows? Who knows?
But also, Gary, of course, I know how to find yourself and Hellaphant on social media. But for the listeners that actually aren't social media savvy, how do they go about following you and, of course, the rest of the band as well?
Well, so Hellaphant on Instagram is called Hellaphant the Band. You know what? This is how much I actually have to look at it. I'm going to pull it up on my phone. Myself on Instagram, it all links together. I'm under @GSays. GSAYS. Little tongue in cheek there for me. Let's go to my thing here. The Instagram account is, where are we? There we are. Yeah, Hellaphant Band. And it's Hella, Hella, Fant Band. And that's where you find us. And it all links together. I think on Instagram we're Hellaphant Rocks, because Hellaphant was already taken somehow. And I'm just Gary Begner. Yeah, G says, I think Chris is just Chris Ehrenberg, Scott Cameron, and Jason is J Homie 16. And that's how you get a hold of us. We're pretty open to answer any questions or gig options or whatnot, or even insults. We're good with insults as well. Doesn't hurt our feelings. But yeah, that's how you get a hold of us. And then hellaphant.ca is our website. The new website should be up. We're having a couple of glitches right now where it's not releasing the old website, so the new one should be up in the next little bit. But yeah, that's how you get a hold of us.
And I got to say, first and foremost, Gary, thank you so much for just giving us a bit of your Sunday night and just talking about your amazing career, what you guys have done so far, and of course, what is actually to come. It was such an honor to speak with such an amazing Canadian punk rock legend. Hopefully down the line we can make this happen again sometime soon, Gary. But for now, definitely have yourself a phenomenal night, and of course a great week as well.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Maybe next time we'll set it up and I'll get all the guys will be involved, and which means mayhem, but it's kind of fun when everybody's in the same room. But yeah, thanks for having me. I do appreciate it. And anytime you want to chat, just drop a line. Glad to do it.
Sounds great to me, Gary. And honestly, I think the mayhem sounds like fun. We definitely shall set that up sometime soon.
Sounds good. Sounds good. I'll let the boys know.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Gary. Definitely have yourself a phenomenal night.
Thanks, man. Talk to you later.